What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I am your host, Justin Harold, and with me, as always, my co-host, Jeff Santa. Today, we are bringing you our preview for the Browns versus the Bears Week 3 matchup, where Justin Fields will be starting for the first time. He made his debut Week 1, and then got a larger role last week when Andy Dalton went out. But this will be his first start against the Cleveland Browns, coming back to the state of Ohio, where he played college football at the Ohio State University. Jeff, we're going to have a good one here. I think there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, we are recording this at 9:30 in the morning on Friday, so we don't have the current injury update, although we do have the update from yesterday and some, news around what may be going on Sunday. So with that all being said, Jeff, how are you doing, my guy?
I'm doing good. The football works its magic. So you got Justin Fields making his first career start in Cleveland, Ohio, at First Energy Stadium. And I believe they play Cincinnati next week too. So two weekends in a row in Ohio football for Justin Fields. That would be crazy if Andy Dalton can't go.
Wait, for real? They just got done playing.
Oh, no, never mind. I know I'm lost. But last week they were at home last week. So
yeah, they played the Bengals last week.
The first two games of action against Ohio teams, played for Ohio State. Just thought that was interesting. I don't have it pulled up yet, but the predictions, we're gonna pull them up. I have them starting Week 3. Unfortunately, I can't really write it off as a huge win because I kind of thought it was going to be just a permanent change, and this is an injury change. So, but happy accident
indeed. Yeah. Obviously I feel like Fields is going to be the main talking point on the Bears side, but talking about the Browns, the big headliner as of right now is Odell Beckham Jr. Potentially making his return. We're seeing a lot of stuff, especially yesterday. Obviously he had his first, and this is awesome, Jeff. I know we didn't know what his status was when we were doing our ebook and everything, and I don't know if you've pulled it up yet, but
I have it up.
I have a picture of it. You have him as the key player this week, so
that's
awesome. I'm really happy that worked out. Who knows? Maybe you had it picked out perfectly, but Odell Beckham Jr. making his return after getting injured last year, tearing his ACL, Week 7 against the Bengals. It's been almost I think we saw something on Twitter yesterday that said it's like 10 and a half months since since his injury. And so we are going to see the potential return of Odell Beckham Jr. with Jarvis Landry going on IR. Jeff, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, here's another thing. I kind of thought he would have been playing the first 2 weeks. So my commentary is around him kind of being eased in the first 2 weeks. So It's probably unlikely that he's the key player to watch. I think if he plays, the whole storyline is going to be him, besides Justin Fields. I think that this is where we see how creative Kevin Stefanski can be, in the sense that how to get the offense moving. This Bears defense isn't bad. I think that they're maybe even slightly underrated. You saw him play good last week against Cincinnati. Obviously not a great front offensive line for the Bengals. I think that's probably where you see Kevin work his magic most, is utilizing how good our offensive line is against their pretty good front seven.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you were alluding to earlier with the whole Odell situation, I think I saw something yesterday about Alex Van Pelt maybe saying something about having him on a pitch count, obviously trying to ease Odell back into the game. We don't know how Kevin's going to call the game. Obviously, Jeff and I have gone back and forth over text messages and DMs about how he's called the first 2 games of this season. And obviously, losing Jarvis Landry in Week 2 and getting Odell Beckham back in Week 3. There's a lot to figure out. And there's a lot of, it's weird because we thought and we knew that the defense was going to have to do a lot of meshing and getting on the same page. And now Jarvis goes out, Odell comes back. We have the emergence of Demetric Felton, who had a great game in Week 2. And then, Anthony Schwartz, who we're still trying to figure out since he had a great Week 1 and then not so great Week 2. There's a lot of moving pieces in terms of the wide receiver room for us. Obviously, our running backs are phenomenal. They're going to do their thing as always. Our offensive line, phenomenal. Baker Mayfield playing highly efficient right now. We'll see how they, call this game. Obviously, Baker's still dealing with his shoulder, and guys are dealing with, little tissue injuries right now. But in terms of just, what we can expect, Jeff, what are you hoping for? Let's not go with what we can expect, because I don't think we can
It's
really get to
tough.
that. Yeah, it's been tough. We've been trying to do that for the past 2 weeks. Don't think we've really gotten it down pat yet. But what do you hope for in this game more than anything?
I really just hope that we keep Baker safe back there. I think that this is probably the most pressure we are going to see. And we saw decent pressure in the Kansas City game, I believe. But their front seven looked very good against Cincinnati. I think that now Baker kind of, the secret's out that injury is going to be nagging. He's probably going to be sore at a minimum. So I think that if you're Chicago and you're the defensive coordinator over there, I don't even know who it is, but I'm sending big pressure over there. Outside of that, I would really like to incorporate the running backs. If you're going to keep them, if you're going to have them in the passing game, I would just like to get them in the passing game early. I want to see what we saw a lot last year of Kareem Hunt, being flexed out as a wide receiver, and even keep that theme going with Demetric Felton, if not having both of them out there at the same time.
Absolutely. And so, talking about the running backs, I have for one of the keys of the games that, both Kareem and Chubb have 30 plus touches. I know we haven't really seen that yet. And something that I want to point out is, we saw last night with Christian McCaffrey, a guy who is the absolute workhorse on his team. He had a ton of carries going into last night and ends up getting I think it's what they're alluding to as a thigh injury right now, a hamstring injury. I like how fresh it is to keep, rotating Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and even Demetric Felton in. However, Jeff, we were talking earlier about a set that we saw where Demetric Felton was playing fullback. We've seen in the past sets where Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are out there, and yet we have not seen that happen yet this year. I wonder, what is the possibility of having that combination, especially with Jarvis Landry coming out? We've seen some of those plays where Jarvis comes into the backfield. I wonder if we start working in some formations where we have even all three of those running backs out there, with Demetric playing in the slot, and then, having Nick and Kareem on both sides of Baker, like we've seen in the past. But I think the big emphasis will be with the running backs, especially since in week one, the running back for the Rams ran for 70 yards off of 16 carries. And then Joe Mixon got a lot of touches, 20 touches for 69 yards. I think against this defense that has a great pass rush, their run defense has been a little bit lackluster. And with our fantastic offensive line and running backs, I think that should probably be the point of emphasis, especially with what you were talking about with Baker's injuries right now.
Yeah, I think their defense, it potentially could be a bad matchup against us just because we are so heavy in that running back department. And that picture that you're talking about, I will throw it up on screen of Demetric Felton being that fullback position, which I thought was interesting last week, how we were trying to use Janovich. Like, looked like we were almost forcing those plays to him. Obviously, he scored a touchdown, so maybe you want to keep trying those plays, but I don't know why we would give it to a fullback when we have people that are, that are playmakers. And it seems like the Kevin Stefanski theme so far, this is the part that I hope continues this week, is regardless of the play call, let's get the ball to our playmakers. You saw it on the Demetric Felton touchdown run. I mean, that was, that isn't designed up to be a touchdown play call. And that was to, get the offense, moving on the opponent's side of the side of the territory. But Demetric Felton just makes a couple of outstanding moves and gets into the end zone. And we have a bunch of guys that could do that. Even our younger guys, even, Anthony Schwartz, if we give the ball to him in space, not calling the same play. If I see that Anthony Schwartz, Kevin called that play 2 weeks in a row, that where we give it to whoever's coming off this way and then we flip it back to Schwartz. We called that 2 weekends in a row. We don't need to be doing that again, but let's get the ball to playmakers in space and then just let them do what they can do.
Absolutely. And I think for the offense, that's just, a smart decision. Just keep it in the hands of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt if Baker's not feeling too well. But also don't hold the man back if he is feeling well enough. And,
Right.
you do get Odell Beckham Jr. back and he's feeling well enough to go all out. So with that all being talked about, let's talk about the man Justin Fields and the Bears offense. Obviously, they have not been fantastic for the first 2 weeks. They played the Rams and kind of embarrassed having Andy Dalton out there, and then played the Bengals last week. And Fields had to come in. He didn't do too hot, but for something that I want to talk about, and we don't have to stay on this too long because obviously we'd be getting into a lot different conversation, but the starts that a lot of these rookie quarterbacks have had this year have not been great. So very bad. Trevor Lawrence, throwing 50 plus times in his first game, throwing 3 sacks, 3 interceptions and 3 touchdowns. Zach Wilson throwing for 2 touchdowns and interception, but a 54 completion rate. And then you have Mac Jones, who, hasn't thrown an interception, but has only thrown 1 touchdown. They're also making it a big deal over there that he's throwing, similar to what you were talking about with Baker this past week. The air yardage on his throws are not past like 5 yards. And so Justin Fields making his first start, the next in line of the rookie quarterbacks. What do you think our outlook is against him? I know our defense is still trying to mesh, and we have had our criticisms about Joe Woods. What do you think his probability of success is in this game?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think it's tricky because coming into the game, in the spur of the moment on Andy Dalton injury is a lot different than having the whole week to prep. I'm sure he takes his work seriously, but it's just a different mindset from the coaches when you're the starter, you're the backup. So if Matt Nagy's smart, which I'm sure Bears fans, they might be on the fence about that if he's genius. I don't think he's terrible. I think there's worse in the league, but I don't know if he's great. I think he's just been a little bit unlucky, especially with some of the quarterback problems, of course, which is a lot of people. But if he's smart, the rookie quarterback numbers are really bad for the first start of your career. I was actually trying to look it up. Can't find it off the top of my head, but I know that a rookie quarterback making his first start rarely wins. That's not coming into the game. That's actually starting, from the outset, first play. It's really tough to win. So I think Matt Nagy hopefully knows this, especially with what he's been through. And I think that he sets Justin Fields up to not have a negative, day, a negative performance day. I think you try to limit the turnovers, obviously, but that means the play calling is we're not going to be taking shots into tight windows. We're not going to be taking shots down the field, maybe even over the middle of the field. I think you see some designed run plays for Justin Fields. It might not be received well, but I think to get his confidence going outside of short throws, short passes, short completions, maybe they try to get his legs going early, especially with, Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney coming off both of our ends, and maybe their offensive line not being as good as some of the offensive lines that we've seen, maybe even Houston's offensive line being a little bit underrated. So I think that Justin Fields has a good day. I'm hoping that Baker has better stats and, of course, that the Browns win the game. And you might even see them lean on David Montgomery, a decent amount because he's actually been pretty good this year.
Yeah, and I'm trying to go through the quarterbacks from last year, Justin Herbert and Joey Burrow, to see what their seasons were like. When they got their starts and everything. Obviously, Joe Burrow came in and started immediately. I believe he lost week 1, and when Justin Herbert came in, he had the unfortunate scenario of having to play the Chiefs. So he lost his first game. Going back to Trevor Lawrence, he lost his first game. Zach Wilson lost his first game, and Mac Jones
lost his first start too.
Yeah,
so that's 0 for 3. Trey Lance hasn't made a start. Justin Fields' first start, so trend is working toward our favor.
Absolutely, and I feel bad for Justin Fields, mainly because I think I would love a scenario where the majority of rookie quarterbacks, get the Patrick Mahomes treatment, where they sit a full year and they only touch the field if their team's getting not blown out, if they're blowing out the other team, or, it's whatever, it's towards the end of the year.
I think that's what they were going for, though.
Yeah, I think they were trying to do their best.
Yeah.
However, it's such a weird scenario because Matt Nagy is on the hot seat. He's gonna probably be out at the end of this year.
Yep.
So like he really, if he wanted to, secure his job for the next year or whatever, I would have just started Fields right away, even though that's against what I'm saying personally. Just speaking as a dude who's probably fighting for his job right now, I would have started Fields because I think he gives you the best shot to win over Andy Dalton. But he just comes into a situation where I think everything is just so out of place for them. I mean, their wide receivers as of right now, Allen Robinson has not played very well. Their running back, he's David Montgomery's good. I don't think he's great, but again, the past for the Bears has always been their defense is the best part of their game, and then you hope that their quarterback doesn't lose their games. And so I think Justin Fields gets a good situation there, but the way their offense is playing as a whole right now, it's just been lackluster.
I honestly don't think it's too terrible. Obviously, being on the road isn't great for the rookie, but believe it or not, this is probably maybe the best game on their schedule that he should have started for. We are the Brown just because the Browns defense. Like I'm not even trying to hate. I'm not even trying to talk smack, but this is the most you see Patrick Mahomes week 1. Believe it or not, I think we could have done worse potentially. I don't know how, but I think as far as Mahomes, he didn't run all over us, which was good. That's not his MO. Tyrod Taylor basically is getting his way before he gets hurt. And I think Justin Fields is more mobile than both of those guys, which could be his downfall if he doesn't know how to slide, if he's taking unnecessary hits, that could be his downfall. But as far as last year, how we saw our defense get torched by Lamar Jackson, I think Justin Fields is probably he ran a 4.40. I mean, come on, he's not as shifty as Lamar, obviously. Yeah. He's a rookie, but this guy, if Justin can make sure that he isn't taking big hits and getting sacked and he moves out of the pocket, I think their O-line's bad. I really do.
Yep.
So that could be a problem for them. But if I'm Matt Nagy, I like this spot. You're not playing, you're playing a good contender on the road as his first start. You hope that your defense is ready to keep you in games where you could see what he's made of, or see where, if it's close, let's see him go out there and see if he's got the clutch factor. If he looks good, eye test. But I think it's an uphill battle. I'm nervous. Are you nervous about the Joe Woods scheme? I'm nervous.
Yeah, I wonder. Listen, we've talked about it with him only rushing the 4. If I'm Matt Nagy and I'm prepping Justin Fields, I'm telling him, hey, if you feel it's only 4-man pressure, feel free to run. Because I mean, you've watched every other quarterback do it against us, where Myles Garrett, rushes past him, and the lane just opens up for them to get 5 yards, 10 yards on us, because our linebackers are also just not covering anyone. They're in no man's land against these kind of quarterbacks, and so. I'm nervous, obviously, because we haven't seen anything yet. However, could it be a game where after you have a Grant Delpit sack towards the end of the game, you think, oh, maybe he had an epiphany and he finally starts blitzing? Yeah, you could definitely see that. Could you see a bunch of fakes where he tries to line Grant Delpit and other players and try to fake them as they're blitzing to try to get Justin Fields to throw a pick? Yeah, I mean, he's a rookie quarterback. They're going to try to disguise some things to make him make mistakes. This is a game that it's worrisome because I think their defense is good enough to keep the game relatively close and get some turnovers. Obviously, we don't want to hear that, but I think that it's a very likely possibility. And so I don't know, I like what you were getting at with, having them keep it close and having Justin Fields, keep them in the game. And if it gets down to it, if we can't run out the clock and we can't, have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt just run the ball like they usually do in the fourth quarter, it might be a game where we're having nervous breaks, and it is what it is. But I still think that we end up pulling it out. Hopefully we get out to an early lead like we did against the Chiefs, and that's that. So.
All right, so you're sticking with the win. Are you sticking with your score? 27-17, you got us.
Man, did I say in there? I think I said in there if Justin Fields starts, it's just going to be one of my favorite games. I don't know if I alluded to it'd be a closer game. I think they score 24 with Justin Fields. I think that they'll probably get 24 points at least. Because he's better than Davis Mills, and I think he's better than Tyrod Taylor. So I think offensively they'll score the second most points so far this year against us. But man, yeah, I'm going to keep it like 27-24. I think that's pretty fair. Browns win.
Yes, you did say if Justin Fields gets to start, this will be your favorite game to watch,
Yeah,
which I agree.
yeah.
I agree. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to watch. Here's my thoughts. Joe Woods, disguise the blitz. Matt Nagy. If I'm Matt Nagy, I'm getting together with Fields. I'm getting together with Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet, and I'm just going right at our linebackers.
Yeah,
because
that's such a good point.
Jimmy Graham is so experienced. He's going to be able to sit down in our stupid ass zone and just get open. And Justin Fields, a rookie quarterback leaning on tight ends is, Baker still leans on tight ends. Quarterbacks, traditional quarterbacks love tight ends, even the non-traditional ones. So I have 24-21 Browns. I'm nervous, but Justin Fields is a rookie. I think if he had a couple starts by now, I might be changing my tune and saying that we lose, actually. Yeah. But hopefully I'm way wrong. I'm going to keep my score prediction. Browns 24, Bears 21. Let's not get any more banged up than we need to be. We're already banged up. It's week 3.
Absolutely. With that all being said, we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you all for watching. If you guys have not already, please subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave a like, leave a comment. Let us know what you guys are thinking for this week 3 matchup and what you guys are feeling for Justin Fields. What do you think his stat line might be? Hopefully good, but not good enough to get the win. So with that all being said, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.